Want to learn to shoot fast with a red dot scope on a pistol caliber carbine or a rifle? You found the right place. I'm Jimmy with Rhino Tactical, and you're going to learn something today.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
In the last few weeks, we talked about how to achieve lightning fast target acquisition with a red dot sight and a scope on a pistol caliber carbine or a rifle. This week, we're going to focus back on red dot sights and get into some of the meat and potatoes. Next week's video will be solidly on drills and target acquisition exercises that you can do at home with dry fire and simulation training. Having said that, let's get into this. To master the use of red dot sights on your rifle or pistol caliber carbine, focus on consistency and presentation, maintaining a target focus, managing recoil, and disciplined trigger control. So these are going to seem really repetitive to you guys. However, before we get into next week's drills, I want you guys to be clear on what it is and not have to work through the technicalities of some of these other things like setup, scope alignment, eye focus, and things like that. So here are some of the key aspects that this week we're going to focus on. The first thing we're going to talk about is having consistent presentation. You should dry fire from the draw and learn to present the gun correctly. Practice drawing from the start position, focusing on smoothness and proper technique rather than on speed. The speed will always come later. Right now, we're just trying to get you to those drills so that you can practice with repetition and achieve lightning fast target acquisition. So remember your tactical index points. Identify specific points on the rifle where your fingers and your hands are going to go, and consistently rest and ensure a proper grip and alignment during the draw. So from here, I'm always going to make sure that my hands are in the correct place. If I am used to having my thumb down, have it down. But for the most part, keep it pointed forward towards the muzzle. The same thing with my support hand. My support hand will always be in my position. You don't want it up against the mag well right here, because this causes a lot of instability. You don't want that. You want it forward as much as you can. You don't want to do an extreme, like a mag pull grip out here. You want to do somewhere in between where you are relaxed. And that will allow you to achieve fast target acquisition. So that is gun presentation. So the next thing we want to talk about as we're talking about a consistent presentation is you present your gun to your eyes, not your eyes to the gun. Maintain a target focus and bring the firearm up until the red dot naturally aligns with your line of sight. Avoid searching for the dot with your eyes. So if I'm here, I'm going to get in my position with the rifle and my head is going to be down where it needs. And all I need to do is bring this up. Okay. Go right here. Go right here. Same thing goes with here. If I'm just be ready, I'm just staying in my natural position. I'm bringing the gun up, and I'm not, in other words, I'm not like dipping my head down. You know, I'm from here to here, from here to here. So try to minimize your head movement. The other thing we're going to talk about is the 80-20 rule. Once I get into my start position, I want to bring the gun up fast and I want to ease it in at the end. You don't see it because I'm doing it subconsciously right now, but bring the gun up fast and ease. Bring the gun up fast and ease. That is the 80-20 rule, where you bring the gun up as fast as you can. And then on the last movement where you're acquiring your target and superimposing your reticle, you slow down just a bit, enough to be able to get that finger in the trigger. You prep the trigger and then you press. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is target focus. There's a few little things that we should go over that'll help you ease into target acquisition speed drills. So first thing is tape trick. Cover the front window of your red dot sight with tape. In this case, all we're going to do is pull our cover up, and so that we cannot see it through our right eye, okay? What this does is helps you practice and presenting for aiming. It forces you to focus on the target while still seeing the red dot sight superimposed with both eyes open. So my left eye is going to pick up the target. My right eye is going to pick up the red dot on the dot sight. So, and it's going to be superimposed in my head, okay? Both images will come together. Target on the left, red dot on the right. So straight up, okay? That will help you focus on the target a lot more. The second thing we want to do is focus on the target. Like I said, unlike iron sights where you focus a bit more on the front sight while looking through both sights, maintain your focus on the target while using the red dot sight. In other words, I'm going to be using my left eye to focus where that target is, and then I'm going to be superimposing the red dot sight with my right eye. Now, again, I am keeping this closed, and I can keep this closed during competition. If there's a lot of distraction going on, I will close that front cover so it forces me to use both eyes. And the last thing we want to talk about on target focus is you have to learn to accept the wobble. Don't wait for the red dot to be completely still before firing. Practice firing as soon as a dot is within an acceptable target area, okay? So it's going to come up, and it's going to be a little bit wobbly, you guys, but as soon as it's in an acceptable area, press. As soon as it's in an acceptable area, press. As soon as it's in an acceptable area, press. It's going to wobble, but as soon as you find it to be okay for you to fire, fire. This is kind of similar to a flash sight picture on a pistol, where as soon as the sights are aligned on the intended center of the target, you press the trigger. Next thing we want to talk about is recoil management. But is it really recoil management, or do you just need to learn how to relax in order for the gun to cycle through your entire body and take the recoil the easy way? So let's talk about a few things. We're going to talk about grip tension. Experiment with grip tension and hand placement to control recoil and keep the dot in the window during your strings of fire. Proper hand and finger position pointed parallel to the bore axis is crucial for quick dot reacquisition. Do not overgrip the rifle. This will cause lower trigger finger dexterity and possibly result in trigger freeze, where your finger hesitates and begins to stutter during the shot. Okay, that's really bad. So what I like to do is I only like to grip any firearm as fast as I could. Say, for example, I overgrip it this way, then I point my finger forward. Now, as fast as I can relax and do my ABCs with this, that's the tension that I want. Obviously, if I overgrip it, I have no dexterity in that finger. Okay, so ease off a little bit. Now you can do the ABCs completely quick. And that is your correct grip. The same thing with your support side. Support side doesn't want to overgrip the gun. The more you overgrip the gun, the more you're going to cause tension, the more you're going to stutter your shots, where you're like, pop, 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 pop. You get trigger freeze, or what's called shot stuttering, where you come up and you can't shoot it. So the key is relaxation. Take a deep breath before you shoot, especially like on a range, or if you're about to do a course. When they say shoot already, take a deep breath, nod, and then you go. Okay, so that is the key. Relaxation before you cause anxiety. So the main thing for recoil management is learn to relax. Don't overgrip the gun and don't undergrip the gun. Don't want to be too loose where you have no recoil control, but the recoil control really comes in learning to relax and flow with the gun. Do not overgrip the pistol grip. Do not overgrip the support hand. Both should work in unison, and both should be relaxed while you're shooting. The last and final thing we want to talk about is trigger control. Now, in the last section, we talked a little about dexterity. That directly correlates to trigger control. You want to utilize dry fire practice to refine your trigger press without disturbing your red dot. Okay, prepping the trigger also helps you. So learn to prep the trigger before the dot settles, timing the shot on the target. So what I like to do with my Pistol Caliber Carbine is I lock the bolt back, slide the lever forward, and then now this allows me to be able to manipulate the trigger. Okay, so from here, I am here. The trigger is being able to be prepped and pressed. Okay, so I'm prepping, I'm pressing, I'm prepping, I'm pressing, I'm prepping, I'm pressing. So utilizing those specific drills allows you to have trigger control. And remember, trigger control comes eventually and essentially from relaxation. So the more you relax, the better trigger control you are going to have. Okay, really quickly, I wanted to talk about what is prepping the trigger. Prepping the trigger basically means you're just taking the slack out of your trigger. Different trigger systems have different prep rates. In other words, this one is very, very short. It has about a 16th inch trigger prep stage that I have to go through. But Glock's the same thing. You bring it back to the break point and then you press. That will allow you to have better trigger control, because you don't want to be developing bad habits like slapping the trigger, you know what I mean? Bringing the gun out, bring the finger out and then slapping the trigger. So learn to prep the trigger and press, press and press, prep and press, prep and press. Okay, that is another secret to trigger control. So here are some important notes as we wrap this thing up. Start slowly and build gradually. Speed will build. Consistency and proper technique are paramount, much quicker than speed. Always do the homework first, the speed will come later. Regular dry fire practice is crucial to developing muscle memory and refining techniques. Don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques and drills to find out what works best with your individual shooting style. Now, red dots offer significant advantages, but developing proficiency requires dedication and practice as well as belief in oneself. In my 40 years of technical and competition shooting, I've always said, if you believe it, you can and will achieve it. So, as always, we hope you enjoyed this video. Stick with us next week as we bring you actual drills for red dot sights and lightning fast target acquisition. We will see you next time on the next big video or on the range. Till next time, have a good day.